2:30, we're gonna start the class. So we're gonna talk. So that is the first thing, class. Make sure you change your name on the Zoom. Right click on your name, and then there's a rename. So you did most. So 2.1 homework is actually due tonight. So make sure you guys start working on your online homework here. There's one section due tonight. I'll be going over these 4 questions: 21, 27, 30, and 31. This is mostly a lot of you asking me in your homework. So when a lot of students ask me, that means you guys need help, and I will go over this together. So make sure you guys pay really close attention on this kind of questions. If you have any other questions beside these questions, please stay back after class, because that is my office hours. You can ask me, any questions you have. And then if you have any questions with WebAssign, like logging in and access code or all this, dealing with WebAssign, also stay back, because I want to see what's going on. Just for your information, that everyone here has to purchase the book, and or if you're in your PSEO, you get it for free, and the book comes with an SS code. You need the SS code. Everyone has a SS code to access the not register to access the homework here. So it's the access code cannot be shared. It's only one-time use, and it's only used for one person. So you're not allowed to share the access code. And so make sure you buy the textbook, and it will comes in the access code. So if you have any questions with this access code and this WebAssign issues, please stay back after class, and we go over those questions here. So so today we talk about this 2.1 homework here, question 21 here. So the question here, if you look at your homework here, they ask you to find the equations of a line passing through this point 1, 1, and 4, -1/2. And then after that, you have to graph it. So so how do we do this kind of questions? Is first thing is you have to find the slope first. And the formula for the slope is y2 minus y1 over by x2 minus x1. Okay, so this will be your x1, this will be your y1, and this is x2 and y2. Again, the 1 and 2 is just telling us the position or the number of the points. So the 1 means this is the first point, and 2 means that it's your second point. And yes, you can switch them around. So what we do here is you have to plug this into this formula. So y2 in this case is -1/2, minus y1 in this case is 1, over by x2. X2 is 4, minus x1 in this case is 1. So I'm taking y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So the first thing is this subtraction of fractions here. Now, I do not know you guys have your calculators. I think I require you to get a scientific calculators. If you have a scientific calculators, you can do fractions like this in your scientific calculators. So if you have your scientific calculators right now, please take it out. Okay. You have a scientific calculator, please take it out. I'm going to show you how to do fractions in here. So that's why this is able to do fractions for you. Okay. Now, some of your calculators have the symbol ABC. Some of you have a symbol of fraction symbol, exactly like a fraction. So depends on there are different types of calculators, right? Now so some calculators have an ABC symbol. The ABC symbol means fractions. Okay. And if you have the exactly like a fraction symbol, means this fraction. So what you do here, in order for you to do this, is you type scientific calculators. Any scientific calculators will work. It's called scientific calculators. So you just type -1. And then if you have this, you just press this button. They will show you a fraction. Then you type the ABC symbol, and then 2. So usually if you use the ABC symbol, you will get the little backwards L like this. So in your calculator, this means fraction, -1/2. And class, do not forget that the difference between a negative and a minus, because when you look at your calculators, there are two symbols. One is a negative symbol and one is a minus symbol. Usually the minus symbol is next to the plus symbol. Do not use that because negative and minus are two different symbol. Negative symbol is usually by itself on the corner, so it's not nearby the multiply, divide, addition, subtraction symbol. And then you will have to -1. So please practice. This is what your calculator will do here. For make sure you use your calculator to do your fractions here. So when you do this, you will get a weird number. You will get something like -1, 1, 2. So this is what you will get. Or some of you will get like a -1, 1/2. So this, when you put this stands for -1, 1/2. But if you want it to make it back to become an improper fraction means something over something, you just hit second shift ABC. Those who have an ABC symbol, you just hit second shift. Second shift is usually, or the shift symbol is usually is on the top left corner. You will get -3/2. Okay, so this is how we use calculators to do fractions. Anyone okay with here? Next, this is easy. 4 - 1 is 3. Okay, so yes, make sure you have, if you have a scientific calculators, and if you haven't buy one, please get one because they will do all this fraction stuff for you. And if you doesn't know how do you get, if you get a correct one, just correct calculator, just take a picture and email it to me, and I will look at it and I will say, yep, this is a correct one. Okay. Now, how do you do this in your calculator? It's very easy. You just do -3 ABC 2. That is a -3/2. And then you just hit the divide button and then a 3. Okay, so in order for you to do this, you just hit -3 ABC 2, which is a fraction, divided by 3. Anyone got an answer here? So that's why you will see this, all this in your calculator. McKenna? Anyone? So you get -1/2. Yep. Okay. So this question is not asking for slope. This question is asking for equation. Now, there are two ways for us to find the equation in this case. So up to you what you want to do. So the first way is using y equals to mx plus b. You just need to plug in these numbers, or the points and the slope into here, and you find b. So this is one way to do it. The second way you do this is using the point slope form. Y minus y1 equals to mx m times x minus x1. Now, no matter which way you do, the answer is correct. The reason why I just want to do this way is because a lot of you guys know the y equals to mx plus b way. So I will show you both ways, but in your test, or in your homework, you only perform one way. Now, if you want to use this, you have to pick a point. I'm going to pick this point because it's easy. You can also pick this point, up to you, but that point looks a bit difficult. So I'm going to pick 1, 1. So I'm going to plug all this into here. So my y in this case is 1. My slope in this case is negative 1/2. From here, this is my slope. Okay. X in this case is 1 plus b. Okay. We can multiply this, and yes, if you want, you can use your calculators. Negative 1/2, which is negative 1 ABC2 times 1. So this will give us negative 1/2 because anything multiplied by 1 is the same thing. And now what we need to do here is, in order for me to solve for b, I will add 1/2 here. So if you have your calculator, you can take it out and do this now. So you just take 1 plus 1 ABC2. Again, every time when you do fractions, you use the ABC symbols. And then if you get a weird results come out like this, we call it as a mixed fraction, a mixed numbers. Then you just press second shift ABC to change your mixed number to become an improper fraction. Yep, and you're allowed to use a calculator in your test. So that's the reason why that I really want you guys to use one. Now I'm gonna enable my camera because I don't want to see my face too. So there you go. So anyone got an answer here for B? One and 1/2. Can you change it to an improper? So what is 1/2 in an improper fraction? 3/2. Yep. So what you do here is you take this slope and the b that you find, and that's your answer. You put it in y equals to mx plus b. M in this case is negative 1/2 x plus b. B in this case is 3/2. Now make sure when you type this in your homework, your y and the x has to be in a lower case. Okay, so so when I type here, your y and x has to be lowercase, so it should be y equals to negative 1/2x, all lowercase, plus 3/2. So this is how you type your answer here. So make sure they are all in lowercase. And if you forget your y, if you just type like this, they will mark you wrong. Okay, and if you use uppercase y or uppercase x, they will mark you wrong too. So be careful with that. They're very picky with this. They're very case sensitive, means it's like your password. If you use a capital Y instead of a lower y, they will mark you wrong. So make sure you guys know that, very sensitive. Now, this is one way to do it using this equation, which I strongly suggest you to do it. Another way is to use the point slope form. So what you do here is you substitute your y1, your m, and your x. Again, your y and x is your point that you use here. So I will pick this point. So y minus 1 equals to your slope, which is negative 1/2. X minus x1 in this case is 1. Now, in order for us to do the using this equation, if you want to solve it, because you got a fraction here, so what do I do in this case is I want to get rid of this fraction. So since your denominator is 2, so I will multiply this 2 to the other side. So this is how I do my get rid of how I do this, because I don't like fractions, because the more fractions you do, the more horrible it gets. But how do I get rid of the fraction is you just multiply your denominator to the other side, in this case 2. and we will distribute. So when you distribute this, you will get 2y minus 2. And then when you distribute this, you will get negative x plus 1. Don't forget it's a negative 1 here. And then you will begin to solve for y. So in this case, I will have to add 2. So what I have is 2y equals to negative x plus 3. And then the last thing I need to do is I divide by 2. Now, when I divide by 2, I divide every single one by 2 here. So your answer in this case is y equals to negative x plus 2 over 2 plus 3 over 2, which is the same as what we just did on the other side, which is y equals to negative 1/2 x plus 3/2. These are the same. Okay, so it's up to you. Again, I think your online homework, either one of these is good. The only good thing about if you do this method is your answer is already here. You do not need to substitute your slope and your y-intercept that what you found early on here. So that is the only good thing about this. So this is how we do this question number 21. Okay. How do we graph this? Since we just graph it over here. Since my y-intercept is 1.5. Don't forget 3/2 is 1.5. So it's right over in the middle here. So this is 1 and this is 2. 1.5 is right in the middle of those two. And your slope is negative 1/2. So negative 1/2 means you have to go down 1 over 2. So you go down 1 and over 2. So this is the line that we have in this case. Okay, so make sure you know that this line will cross at 1.5. So the graph for this will look like this one because it crosses at 1.5 and it goes downwards. Okay, so it will look like the one that I just showed it to you here. So it's 1.5 and then it goes downward. So this is how you draw. That's how we do this question. Okay. So this is for question number 21. The next question we're gonna do here is number 27, which is this question. Again, class, everything that I did over here, it will be saved and posted in D2L. So if you need some reference or something else, please make sure you look for it. Okay. Online homework 2.5. Okay. Next we're gonna do here is this question number 27 here. Is given us by the equation of x over a plus y over b equals to 1, where a in this case is your x-intercept and b in this case is y-intercept. So it's given us by the x-intercept in this case is 7/5, 0. This is our x-intercept. And our y-intercept in this case is 0, -7. So in order for us to do this, you just simply plug this in. So we plug this is your x-intercept to your a. And we plug this -7 to your b. So your answer in this case will be x over by 7/5 plus y over by -7 equals to 1. Okay, so so that is that's not your answer yet. Okay, so you plug this a and b over here, and this is the equations you have. Now, this equation on number 27, they want you to use the intercept form to find general form. Now, what is the general form of an equation? The general form of an equation is where your x and y equals to a number. This is called the general form. Let me check. It is in my notes here. They will have a general form. So if you look at my notes, the general form, oh, it's everything. So the general form in this case is AX plus BI plus C equals 0. Sorry, that is the general form. So that means that your general form in this case will be your X, any Y, any number form C equals to 0. So this is the general form that we have. So what we need to do here is we have to make this as a general form. Now, because this is a fraction over by a fraction, we can do something with this. Okay, so this is the same thing as X divided by 7 over 5. So as we know that we can change the division to become multiplication as long as we flip the back fraction. So in this case, this will become 5x over 7. So this, the fraction over fraction here, can be written down as 5x over 7. Now, because this, and then now the middle term, because these two, a plus and a minus, this will become just a minus. We got y over 7, and this is equals to 1. Now, you notice that in general form, you cannot have fractions. So what we do here is we find the LCD here. Since they are all 7 here, so that means the LCD in this case will be 7. So I will multiply everything. The one on the left by 7, the one on the right by 7. So this 7 will cancel with this 7. So what I left here in this case is 5x minus y. And then 1 times 7 is 7. And the last thing we need to do is, because in general form, you have to make this equal to 0. So I have to move the 7 to the other side. So I have to subtract 7 in this case. So you will get 5x minus y minus 7 equals to 0. So this is your general form in this case. And again, class, x and y in this case is lowercase. Please do not use an uppercase here. So 5x minus y minus 7 equals to 0 is your answer here. Again, x and y has to be in lowercase. Next question is number 30. Now, this is where I see a lot of students get wrong. It's not because you don't understand it, it's because the way that you type it out is wrong. A pharmaceutical salesperson received a monthly salary of $32,000 plus 8% of the sales. Okay. Now, the question is asking us to write a linear equations of the monthly wages W in terms of sales S. Now, please look carefully on the variables here. The W and the S are in capital letters. So if you use small letter S here, they will mark you wrong. Okay, so make sure you guys know that we are using capital letter here, not small letters. So those students who get wrong on this question is not because you didn't get it right. It's just you use lowercase instead of uppercase. Okay. So how do we write this in the monthly wage in this case is 3,200 plus the 8%. No, you have to write the S down. Okay, so it's 8%. So can someone tell me 8% in decimal? 0.08 of the sales. Now the word of means multiply, so you have to multiply this with sales. Sales in this case is S, so you have to use the capital S in this case. So a lot of students use the small little s here. This is where I get a lot of students get mistakes in your homework here. So that's why they mark you wrong. So it's a capital S. So this is your answer for question 30. It's 3,200 without the dollar sign. And no, you do not need to write in that orders. You can put 0.08S plus 3,200. Because it's addition, 1 plus 1 is the same, 1 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus 1. But if it's subtraction or minus sign, you cannot put in, you have to write in that order, because 1 minus 2 and 2 minus 1 is two different numbers, two different things. But so make sure you guys, so you can write the other way around is fine. The only thing I want to point out here, class, is make sure you use capital S, not the lowercase s, because the question asks us to use capital S here. Okay, this is where the students get mistakes. So 30, this is pretty straightforward. 32 is question 30 is mostly very straightforward types questions. Question 31. So this is the word questions. A roofing contractor purchased a shingle delivery truck with a shingle elevator that cost $34,650. This is how much is it cost. The vehicles requires an average expenditure of $7.50. So this is also a cost. Because it costs a company to buy the vehicle, and it costs a company to run this vehicle. And then and the operator is paid $16.50. So this is also a cost. Now, as you know that this $34,650 is not every hour. This is fixed. That means you only buy it one time. But this is per hour, and this is per hour. That means that every hour it costs this much. So question A is asking us, write a linear equations where the total cost by operating this equipment in T hours, not X, but T. And look at this T, it's a lowercase. So do not use capital T. Make sure you use a lowercase t here. So this will be the cost. So in order for us to find what is the cost for this, you just need to add them up. So is 34,650. Avoid the dollar sign. Now this one you do not need to put T on it because that is the fixed cost. But to pay for gas and and for maintenance is 6.5 T. So every hour, that means T in this case, you have to pay $7.50. And then the operator also costs $16.50 every hour. So this is also T. Now, so what we do for this question is, because these are like terms, you have to combine it. Can someone tell me what is 7.5 plus 16.5 is? So that will give us 24T. So your answer in this case will be 34650. Don't put money sign, don't put comma sign, plus 24, and make sure the T is a lowercase t. So this is how we do question A. Question B is asking us to say, assuming that they charge $45 per hour to use the machine, what will be the revenue? So revenue is where cost means you give the money, revenue means you take the money. So that means that is that's a good news. That means people pay you. So $45 per hour. So because T in this case is hours, so can someone tell me how you write 45 per hours in terms of T? So that will be just Yep, no parentheses, Tiara, just not 40. So in this case, will be 45t. So avoid using parentheses. Okay. Next question C. Question C is asking us to find the profit. So in order for you to find the profit, you have to take the revenue minus the cost. So revenue is this, so it's 45t minus the cost, and the cost is this is your cost. Now the reason why that you need a parenthesis on here is because this minus sign affects both of these terms. So majority of students make mistake on this question C here is because they forgot to put parentheses here. Okay, because there are two terms. So if you have a bi or tri or multiple terms here, once you minus, this minus has to be distributed to it. Okay, so a lot of students make these mistakes. So this will become 45t minus 34650 minus 24t. Okay, the negative has to be distributed to here. And then you combine like terms. So 45 take away 24 is 21, I believe. 21t minus 34650. So this is called the profit. Again, this question is important if you are a business, you're in business, because profit is what you are looking for. 21t minus 34650. And the last one is you have to find the break-even point. What is the break-even point? Break-even point means your profit is at 0. So what we do on this question D here is we got the profit equation here. So in order for us to make a break-even point, you just need to substitute your profit to become 0. So you take this whole equation and you just set it equals to 0. So 0 equals to 21t minus 34650, and you solve for t here. So you will add 34650, so you get 3 to this side. So you get 34650. And then in order for me to get rid of this 21, I divide by 21. So this is the time to break even. So that means that you don't gain or you don't lose any money. If you use your calculator and divide this came out to be 1650. That means that if someone rented this machine for 1,650 hours, you won't gain any money or you won't lose any money because that's a break-even point. But if this vehicles, if you ran it above these hours, you will have a profit. But if you go below these hours, you will have a lose. You will have a loss. Okay. So this is how we do this question number 31 here. Okay. Anyone have any questions for me? And again, class, for the rest of your online homework, if you have questions, please stay back after class. Today we will go over 2.2 here. Okay. So this is the note for 2.2. Now, I already told you guys that you have to print these notes out and you have to write it out, or if otherwise you have to type it out. So if you guys want me to print this note out for you guys, because if you want to save money for the ink and everything, please email me, because I do have a few printed notes already that was outside my office. So you can come in, but you have to come to school to pick it up. So you have to come to my office and pick it up. My office is in CLA 203. It's already, the notes are all already in outside the office, but I have a very limited amount of notes. I think I only print 10 sets of notes. So, but I will print more if you need more, but you just need to let me know. So please, when you come here, go outside my office. There's an envelope saying, this is the note for chapter 2 and 3. Please take one of them. Don't grab multiples, because please share. So please, only one per student. So we'll talk about 2.2, which is functions here. So what is a function? So a functions is where is a relation between x and y. Okay. So usually a functions is this is very important, where each element of x has exactly one element of y. So this is very important. I'm going to change this into a different color. So that means that if you have a function, one x can only goes into one y. Okay. If one x goes into multiples y, that is not a function. Okay. So a function only happens when each element x goes exactly to only one element y. Okay, so what does that mean for us is if you plug a value for x, you got an equation, right? You plug x a number, and you solve for y, and if you only get one y answer, then it is a function. But if you plug x into the equations and you got multiple y answers, it is not a function. Okay. Next, we'll talk about is your domain. Domain is where the set of A is a domain of the function of the domain of a function. So domain in this case is the input. So what x values can you take? Okay. Range in this case is the output. So what is the once you put x, you get the y. So what range the y values can you do? So usually domain in this case is talking about the x values. What x values can you take? And range, this is your domain. And range in this case is what y values can you take? Okay. Now class, domain and range is very important. We do this a lot in our class. Also in the future, if you're taking calculus, or we do a lot of domain range. So please, this is super important. And again, please watch this video again if you have any questions. So what is a characteristic of a function? Each element in A must be matched with an element in matched with n elements, so only one element you can have. So let me refer you to page 173 in your textbook. Where is my textbook? So class, again, there's mostly I don't want you guys to bring the textbook. Usually there's an ebook here. So I will recommend you to, if you have to use the ebook quite often here. We are doing 2.1 in this case. 2.2, sorry, not 2.1, 2.2. So this is considered a function in this case. So what does that mean is every x has one y. This has only one y. This has only one y. This also has only one y. Now, although these two share the same y, it's fine as long as this one has exactly one. This is what we call as a function. Okay. So what makes it not a function is this x share got two y's. One is 15 and 1 is 4. So if this one has multiple y's, like 2 or 3, then it is no longer a function in this case. So so that's how we figure out the functions in this case. So must be exactly 1 y. Okay. So each element A must be matched with exactly 1. Some elements B may not be matched. So what it mean by some elements in B may not be matched means that if you look at this picture, you find out that there are some numbers here that doesn't have a matching, which is fine. Okay, as long as all your X has a match, but the Y in this case has some additional numbers that is not been matched with X, it is still considered as a function. Okay. The next thing is 2 or more elements of A can be matched with the same. So you can match 2 or more elements on A can be same in B. For example, in the picture that you see here is 4 and 3 and 4, because 3 and 4 has matched with 15, right? So this is fine. Okay, if you have multiple elements that share the same Y value here, it is good. Okay. And the last one that we talk about here is an element A cannot be matched with 2 different in B. So the last one is you cannot match with 2 or more. Okay. So in this case, that means this X cannot have multiple arrows. Okay. So if you have multiple arrows, it's not a function in this case. Okay. There are 4 ways for us to represent function. One way is using verbally in a sentence. Usually we don't do this in our class because usually this is a math class. We don't do it verbally. So I will X it up. Next way is doing numerical way by tables, like the one we just did over here. So we can also tell if this is a function or not. So what you guys need to do is make sure that your X here only have 1 arrow. If your X here has multiple arrows, it is not a function. The next one is if the question provide us graph, then we do the vertical line test. So you draw any vertical line, and when you draw a vertical line test, you only intercept this at 1 point only. So every vertical line intercept at 1 point on the graph. So if you only intercept 1 point on the graph, then it is a function. Otherwise, it is not. And the last thing that we do here is doing algebraically. So how do we do algebraic in the equations? You plug x, a number, and solve for y. If you get only 1 y answer, it is function. Okay, so you solve for y, you plug any x number you want, and you try to solve for y. And if you only get 1 answer for your y, then it is a function. But if you get multiple answers, then it is not a function. Okay. What is a function notation? If you find out that it is a function, then the notation we use here is f of x. Okay, this is pronounced as f of x. So f of x is the symbol for function. It is the same thing as y. So remember, you got y equals to mx plus v that you learned in 2.1. So you can replace y to become f of x, which just means that y in this case is a function now. Okay. Now, if you have 2 or more equations with a specific domain, we call that function as a piecewise defined function. You will learn this in the example in this class. Okay, and this is a domain. So the domain of a function, when you talk about the domain of a function, it is where what is the numbers, what real numbers that you can put into the x, so you will get a defined answer. Okay, so we'll talk about the domain once I finish the difference of quotient. The difference of quotient is given us by this formula, f x plus h minus f of x divided by h. Now, you do not need to memorize this formula. If this question come up in your test, I will provide you this formula. This difference of quotient is very important when you do calculus. And yes, I will show it to you examples of how we do the difference of quotient. But first thing I want to point out to you here is domain. So please, this is very important. I want you guys to write this out. This is very important. So please write it out somewhere else. There's no room in, if you can squeeze it in the paper, please squeeze it in the notes. If you can able to squeeze it here, please squeeze it somewhere here if you have room. Because this is so important. Please. Now, for any polynomial functions, your domain in this case is all real numbers. Now, how do you write all real numbers in the interval notation? Because in the online homework, they don't accept all real numbers. All real numbers, the interval notation is from negative infinity to positive infinity in parentheses. This is called the domain of the polynomial functions, all real numbers. Now, what is polynomial functions? Polynomial functions is functions with exponents. For example, 7x plus 3. I just put f of x. F of x equals to 7x plus 3. F of x equals to 6x squared minus 2x plus 8. F of x is 7x cubed minus 6x squared minus 9x plus 4. So this is what we call as polynomial functions. Means it is exponents. It's a functions with exponents where the exponents has to be a whole number like 1, 2, 3. So if I ask you what is the domain for this kind of functions, your domain is gonna be all real numbers. Okay. What else is also having a domain of all real numbers? Absolute values function. So example will be f of x equals to absolute value of 3x plus 2. Then your domain in the absolute usually is the 2 lines. Then your domain in this case is still gonna be all real numbers. What else is also the domain is all real numbers beside polynomial and absolute value is odd root function. What is the meaning when I say odd root function? Is your root is odd, like cube root, fifth root, seventh root. Again, must be odd. The index must be odd. So if you have this, then your domain is gonna be all real numbers. Okay. Again, class, this is super important. Please write it down somewhere else because otherwise you will be having a big problems here. Yeah, but that's range. So copy that that is, you are talking about range in that case. We are talking about domain. So yes, your range is all positive numbers, but your domain is all real numbers. That means you can put whatever x numbers in here. You can put negative numbers for x. You can put positive number for x, but the output is going to be positive. So that's the range. Okay. Again, we're talking about domain here, not the range. So then we'll change something else. So what happens if you have an even root? Remember, odd root means cube root, fifth root, seventh root, so forth. What happens when you have even root function? So if you have an even root functions like square root, fourth root, then your domain in this case, your radicand, what is inside the root, we call it the radicand, is gonna be greater than or equals to 0. So this is the domain for even roots. So square root, fourth root, sixth root, so on. And how do we write this in the interval notations? Is bracket 0 to infinity. So every time when you have including as an equal to, we will use bracket. If you don't have an equal to, we will use parentheses. For example, if I give you the square root of x minus 2, what is the domain for this function? In order for us to figure out the domain for this function, you take what is under the root, in this case x minus 2, and you always make them greater than or equal to 0. The reason why we make it greater than or equal to 0 is because square root cannot be negative. Because if you have a negative square root, it is a complex, which is an I in this case. So that's why we put everything here has to be greater than or equal to 0, and then you solve for x. So I add 2 to the other side. So in this case, is x has to be greater than or equal to 2. That means what is the domain in this case? It means that any number that is 2 and above will work for this case. Okay, so you cannot put you cannot put 1 or 0 or negative 1, because if you put 1, 0, negative 1, which is not above 2, you will get negative inside here. You will get complex number. So how do we write this in the interval notation? Because your online homework usually wants the interval notation. Since it's 2 or higher, so in this case is brackets 2 means it includes 2, and then it goes to infinity. So this is how you figure out your domain for an even root. Next, we have a rational function. So what is a rational function? A rational function is where you get polynomials over by polynomials. For example, you will get 2x plus 1 over by 3x minus 2. So this is what we call as a rational function. Okay, a polynomial over by a polynomial. In order for you to figure out what is the domain in this case, your domain in this case is all real numbers. So this is the symbol for all real numbers, except your denominator cannot equals to 0. Okay, so this is the rational functions domain. Is all real numbers except your denominator cannot equal to 0. Now, why we do this is because when you divide something, if you divide a number with a 0, you will get undefined. So that means that we try not to have an undefined, because domain says what x values to make it defined. So if you have an undefined, you need to stay away from it. So so in order for you to do this, you just need to take your denominator and equals to 0, and you solve for x, and that x value is the one that you cannot take. So let's do the domain for this case. So let's solve for x here. So 3x equals to 2. X in this case is 2/3. So again, you add 2 and then you divide by 3. So your domain in this case will be all real numbers except x cannot be 2/3. And then, so in order for you to write this in an interval notation, it is from -infinity to 2/3 union 2/3 to infinity. So this is how you write your interval notation. This is what your online homework wants you to write. So if you write in this form, they won't take it. So they will want you to take this form. So what does that mean? It means that any number in your number line works. The only number that does not work in this case is 2/3. Because when you put 2/3 in here, you get 0. So so we will do anything that goes from -infinity to 2/3 and then 2/3 to infinity. So this is how you figure out your domain for irrational functions. Okay, so now we can talk about some examples of it. So let's take a look at the example here. Where was the example? Yep, there you go. So we do 12 because since we're doing domain here. So this is question 12. G of x equals to 1 minus 2x squared. So can someone tell me what is the domain of this function? Is this a polynomial, absolute value, odd roots, even roots, or rational function? This is a polynomial, and for polynomial, the domain is what? All real numbers. And again, in your online homework, they don't accept the word all real numbers. So you have to give it to me as -infinity to +infinity. Okay, so this is the domain for him. Question number 13. They give you sy. So this is sy equals to 3y over by y plus 5. So can you tell me, this is polynomial. So can someone tell me what kind of function is this? Is that polynomial, absolute value, odd, even, or rational? So this is rational. And how do we figure out the domain here? Which is like what we just did over here. You set the denominator equals to what? Equals 0, and you have to solve for y. So can someone tell me what is your value for y in this case? -5. Yep. And again, class, this is not your answer. So how do you write your answer in this case? It looks exactly like this, but you replace -5 to it. So your answer is -infinity to -5 union -5 to infinity. It's a long answer, yes. Okay. Yes, Uzar, that is correct. Your denominator is always equal to 0. Okay. This is just for the rational piece for this case. (14) is gy, the function gy is the square root of y minus 10. So can someone tell me what kind of this function is? Is that polynomial, absolute, odd, even, odd roots, even roots, rational? So this is an even root, and even root is this one. So what is the domain says? The domain says you take whatever inside here and make it what? Greater than or equals to 0. So we take y minus 10 greater than or equals to 0. And solve for y. So you move the negative 10 over, become y is greater than or equals to 10. And how do you write this in the interval notation? 10 to infinity. So this means that the smallest number you can have is 10, and it goes above that. So this is your domain for question number 14. You guys doing okay here? Again, class, what I'm teaching you here is not just for this 2.2, it's also for the rest of the semester and your future class. Okay, so class, this is super important. So I'm gonna put a star on it here. So so you know this is important here. Infinite symbol means that it goes to infinity. Okay, like this says that it goes to infinity. So it starts from 10. If you draw the picture, it will start at 10 and it goes to infinity. So that's why the infinity symbols is used in this case. Next, the last one, question 15. This is a tricky one. F of x equals to x plus 2 over by root of x minus 4. X plus 2 over by square root of x minus 4. So this is the question number 15 is. So how do you figure out your domain in this case? Now this is very tricky, so pay attention here. So this function that we have here is a combination of rational and even root. Rational is because it has a fraction, and root, it has the square root underneath it. So it has a rational plus the square root. So that's why this is very special. Now, rational, if you remember, it says the denominator cannot be 0. And even root says that your root here has to be at least positive or 0. Now, when you put these two together, even root plus the rational function, like number 15, then your domain in this case is whatever inside this has to be greater than 0. Now, if you remember last time when you do the even root, it has to be greater than or equals to 0. But this question, you cannot have an equal to 0 is because rational function says your domain cannot be equal to 0. So that's the reason why that when you have your square root in your denominator like this, your domain in this case will be x minus 4, whatever inside the root has to be greater than 0. So in this case, x has to be greater than 4. So your domain in this case is 4 to infinity. And the reason why we use parentheses here is because we don't have an equal to. Okay. And the reason why is if you plug 4 inside here, you will make him 0. and anything divided by 0 is undefined. So that's the reason why that you cannot pick 4. But you can use 4.1, you can use 4.2, you can use 4.3, but you cannot use 4. So that's the reason why that we put them a bracket, a parenthesis is telling us that 4 is not included. But if you put a bracket like question number 14, means 10 is included. Yes, when you plug 10 in here, it still work. That means you get 0 here. So that's the meaning of the difference between parentheses and brackets. Something that you guys might need to watch out for that. So this is what we're talking about here is the domain piece. Okay. So now we will talk about the first few questions here. So the first question is asking us, is either this represent a function? So don't forget, class, the meaning of function means that every x has exactly one y. So if you look at this picture here, is this a function? Yes or no? So this is not a function. Yep, that is correct. And the reason why this is not a function is because of -1. -1 has how many y's? -1 has 2 y's. So that's the reason why that this is not a function. Now, if I give you pictures like this, you can easily find, you can easily tell me if they are functions or not. Like this -1 has multiple lines show up, then you say it's not a function. Okay. How about these cases? How do we know if this is a function? You plug x be a number in here. So let's say x equals to 0. So I want you guys to plug x equals to 0 here and solve for y. Now, if you get one answer for y, it is a function. But if you got 2 or more answers for y, then it is not a function. Okay. So, so for question 2, I plug x. You can plug any number you want. Okay. I put 0. You can put 1. You can put negative. You can put fractions if you want to, but we try best not to. So we put x becomes 0 here. Can someone tell me what is 0 minus 2 squared? Anyone? 0 minus 2 squared is 4. Plus y squared equals to 4. So we begin to solve. You minus 4 here. So y squared in this case is 0. Now, what happens when you take the square root? Anyone know what happens when you take a square root of this? You will have plus minus. And what happens when you have plus minus? How many answers you will get? One answer or multiple 2 answers? So you will get 2 answers in this case. So since you get y in this case, you will have 2 answers. So in this case, this is not a function. So this is how we figure out algebraically if that is a function or not. Is plug any x values you want and solve for y. And if you only got one answer, then it's a function. If you got a plus minus sign like this, you got 2 answers, you will have not a function here. So for question 3, we can plug any x values here. We can plug 0 in here. Now, don't forget, this question doesn't have a plus minus. It just have a square root. 16 minus 0 square, because x in this case is 0. So in this case, you got square root of 16, which is in this case is 4. So how many answers do we get in this question 3? So no matter what x numbers you plug in here, you only get one answer in this case. So in this case, y in this case only have one answer. So what it is this is a function. So in order for us to have a function, your y only can have exactly one solution, and that's why it is a function. But if you go for number 2 here, it's not a function here. So make sure you guys know this is what we did algebraically. Just plug in any number you want, and then figure out if that 1 or 2 answers. Question 4. Right, you have to simplify this. What is the meaning of H2? H2 in this case means you substitute 2 into your t. So it's given us that ht in this case is t squared minus 2t. So if I ask you for h2, means my t in this case will become 2. So what I have in this case is 2 squared minus 2 times 2, which in this case will become 0. Okay, so again, when I ask for h2, means your t will be replacing by 2. Now b, this one I think you can do it yourself. Is h1.5. So what does that mean here is you replace 1.5 to your t. So I will get 1.5 squared minus 2 times 1.5. So please take out your calculator. You need a calculator here. I want you guys to calculate what is h1.5 is. Can we go ahead and answer? Calculators. Yep. Negative 0.75 or negative 3/5. You're correct. 3/4, negative 3/4, Christopher. So either one is fine. I'm not picky with, you can give me in decimals or fractions. Doesn't matter. But what I want to point out to you here is this last question here is where it's asking for hx plus 2. So please pay attention on this one, because this a and b is easy because you just plug 2 or 1.5 to t, right? So this you have to plug x plus 2 into your t. So what happened is that your t in this case will be squared minus 2 times t. So this is replaced by x plus 2 in this case. So this is the meaning of hx plus 2 is you replace all your t here with x plus 2. The first thing is you guys have to square this. So does anyone know how to do x plus 2 square? Now, this is the most common mistake students do is they give it to me as x squared plus 4. That's what Sang says. This is wrong. Okay, so do not make this mistake in my class or in my test. X plus 2 squared is not x squared plus 4. The best way for us to avoid this kind of mistake is to FOIL it out. So this is actually is x plus 2 times x plus 2. So please FOIL this follow out. You guys know how to FOIL, right? And you won't get x squared plus 4. Okay, so for those students who think it's x squared plus 4, you will get, please avoid that. You will get it wrong, especially in your test. So I recommend you to do it this way. Anyone know how to FOIL this? You will get x squared plus 4x, yes, plus 4. So be careful with this. It's not x squared plus 4. It comes with 3 terms, not 2 terms. So this will give us x squared plus 4x plus 4. And then you need to distribute your negative 2 here. You get negative 2x minus 4. So now you have to combine like terms. So the x squared is by itself. 4x take away 2x is positive 2x. And then the 4 take away 4 will cancel out. So this is your answer for question 4C, x squared plus 2x. So be careful about this. I will recommend you guys to FOIL this follow up. A lot of students make mistakes here by not foiling it up. So that is the main part of this question 4 here. Okay. We're gonna skip question 5. Now again, when I skip means you go home and try it. I do give you my copy of notes here. Now, question 6 is given us by f of x equals to absolute value of x over x. And they want you to figure out what is f2 is and so on. So f negative 2 and f of, what was that, x minus 1? Yeah. Again, you will see this in your online homework, and a lot of students will ask me these questions. So f2 means you substitute 2 to your x. So this is absolute value of 2 over 2. So this will give us 1. Okay. When you plug in negative 2 for your x, you got absolute value of negative 2 over negative 2. Now, as you guys know, that absolute value means it's always positive. So this will become 2 over by negative 2. You get negative 1. Okay. So what do you notice about this question 6 is, this question 6, you can get 2 answers, either a positive 1 or a negative 1, depends on your denominator. If your denominator is positive, you get positive 1. If your denominator is negative, you get negative 1. Okay. So what happens when you do f of x minus 1? This is going to be absolute value of x minus 1 over by x minus 1. Now, your answer in this case is a piecewise answer for question C. Again, I'm doing question C here. Your answer can be positive 1 and it can be negative 1, depending on what x numbers you put in here. So let's put x become 2, example. So what happens when you put x to become 2 here? Is your denominator positive? Because our denominator is the one that tells us, right? When you put x equals to 2 here, is our denominator positive or negative? It will be positive. So if x is 2, you get positive. How about 3? X equals to 3. We also get positive. We know that 4, 5, 6 will be positive, right? So how about 1? What happens when you put x become 1 here? You get 0, right? And do you know what happens when you divide with 0? Is undefined. So this is no good. So in this case, for us to figure out that what makes it positive, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means the number here has to be greater than 1. And this 1 came from this, because it will telling us that if your number is above 1, you will get positive number. Now, what happens when you plug numbers that is below 1, like 0? What happens when you plug 0 in here? Or -1, or -2, or -3? You notice that this number will become negative. So that's the reason why that this answer for 6C, your answer will become 1 if your x is above 1, a -1 when x in this case is below 1. Okay, so anything that is below 1, like 0, -1, -2, -3, you will get a negative numbers. And the reason why you get negative number is because your denominator is negative, will make him the whole thing negative. So this is what we call as the piecewise defined function, which is a lot of you will have you won't see that a lot. You probably will see that quite a bit in your calculus class. Okay? So don't worry much more about the piecewise function in this case. Okay. Next, I'm gonna skip around here. I think you can do that. Question number 9. This one you just plug t to become those numbers. Okay, it's pretty much. Oh, let's do number 7. Sorry, let's do number 7. Is given us, we did number 6 just now. Number 7, f of x in this case is 4 minus f5x, given as that x is less than or equals to -2. 0 when it's between -2x and 2. And x squared plus 1 is x is greater than 2 equals 2. Now, this is what we call as a piecewise defined function, because it breaks down into certain pieces based on the x, the domain here. So the first question here is asking us to find what is f of -2. So you have to pick when x is -2. Are we picking this function or this function, the first function, the second one, or the third one? So where is x equals to -2 belongs to? Is that belongs to x is greater than or equals to -2, or between -2 and 2, or above 2? Now, since x is equals to -2, it belongs to this. So we were using this function. So this will become 4 minus f minus 5 times -2. So this is 14. So when you have a piecewise defined function like what we did in question 7 here, you have to figure out where is the x value belongs to. Like question B, f4, that means your x in this case is 4. So can you tell me which one of these has 4 in it? So we notice that the third one will have 4 belongs to it because 4 is greater than or equals to 2. So we will be using this third one in this case. It'll become 4 squared minus plus 1. So that will become 17. 16 plus 1 is 17. And for part C, f of -1, because our x in this case is -1, and -1 is in between -2 and -1. So your answer in this case will be 0 because there's no x here. So if your function here does not say have x on it, then you just use that number 0. So your answer for question C in this case will be 0. So when you pick this piecewise differential function, you have to look for what is the x values following the domain given here. And you only have to pick one choice option. It can be the first one, second one, or the third one, depends on the x values that you have. Okay. So that is how we do question number 7 here. This is called a piecewise defined function. Number 9 is given us by finding the x value such that f of x equals to 0. That means that you need to solve for x when f of x equals to 0. So for question 9, you put this is 0 equals to 3x minus 4 equals to divided by 5. So we have to solve for x here. So the first thing we need to do here is multiply 5 to that side. Because if you see any fractions like this, we can get rid of it by multiply to this side. So we know that 0 times 5 is 0. So this is 0 equals to 3x plus minus 4. And then we solve for x. So we add 4 to both sides and then divide it by 3. So x in this case will be 4 over 3. Now, question 9 is easy because it is what we call as a linear equation. So solving linear equation is something that you guys used to, like, add 4 and divide 3. But question 10 is a little bit different. Again, they want you to find f of x equals to 0 here. Okay. So 0 equals to x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. So again, we set f of x equals to 0 here. Now, in order for us to do question 10, this is not a linear. That means it doesn't have an x. This is an x3. So in order for you to solve this, you have to factor it. So you have to cut this. It's a 4 terms factor. So you have to factor this by group. So factor by groups in this case. So how do we factor by group is cut this into half and find the common factor here. So if you look at the first two, you can actually factor x squared out. And you will end up with x minus 1. Over here, you can factor 4 because 4 is common. But because of the front here has a negative, so you have to factor -4 out. So what you get here will be x minus 1, not x plus 1, because when you distribute the -4 with the -1, you will get a +4. When you do factor by group, you notice that the one in the parentheses are the same. Then you will factor it out, become x minus 1, no square, because they are factoring, they are common terms. What you left over is x squared minus 4. So x minus 1. And if you didn't get these parentheses are the same, something is wrong. So usually these two are exactly the same. The sign is the same, the number is the same, everything is the same. Okay. Now, x squared minus 4 can be factored again because that is what we call as a perfect square. So, so x squared minus 4, the factor in this case is x minus 2 and x plus 2. This will still have x minus 1 that we factored out earlier on. So this is how we factor these trinomials. And you have to make all these equals to 0. So when you make all this equals to 0, your x in this case, -1 become +1. You just make them equals to 0 and move -1 over. X in this case will be 2. And x in this case will be -2. So this is your solution for question 10. You will have 3 answers here. So this is something I will tell you is very important. So if you have a power 3, usually we got 3 answers. If you have power 1, usually we have 1 answer. If you have x squared, usually we have 2 answers. So make sure you guys, this is very important, especially when you go to chapter 3, you will learn this property, or this, if depends on the power. If you have power 3, you should have 3 answers in this case. Okay. So I'm going to take attendance here now. So please type present in the chat room. Make sure your name is there, full name. Okay. Did this. We'll do one of this. All right. We'll do some word problem here. Are you if you don't want to change your name? Yes, Christopher, you do have to finish your notes. I did skip around, so please make sure you finish that. Kadia, too, to change your name, right click on your profile, on your if you have a webcam on that, right click on your name and then you say rename. Yep. The reason why I'm not going through all of this because some questions are pretty simple. You should be able to do that. Question 16, you have an open box with a maximum volume to be made from a square pieces of material, 24 centimeters on the side by cutting equal squares from the corners of turning up the sides. So what is going on here is, I'll show it to you what question 16 looks like. Question 16 is given us, you have a square piece of cardboard. Okay. And they measure 24 by 24. And you cut a square on the corner. So you cut all x square out. So this is a corner square. You take it out. And then when you take it out, if you fold on the red dot that I draw here, if you fold it upwards, you will get yourself an open box. An open box will look something like this. It's a 3-dimension. Sorry, my 3-dimension is not as nice as my 2-dimension. You will get an open box, something like that. Okay, so so when you cut all the x boxes and then you fold this straight line, you will get yourself open box in this case. There, you got it. You got it. So so what happened is these are 24 centimeter each. Okay, and can you tell me what is this length of this dashed red line here? in terms of x. If from here to here is 24, and you take x out, so what is the red dot line is in terms of x? Anyone? Not 12. Good try. So because this is x and this is x, so this will be, yep, 24 minus 2x. Because the whole thing is 24 and you take 2x out because you got two little box on top, top and bottom here. So that all measured x, so it's 24 minus 2x. Now, what about the other side, which is this side? Again, this is 24 and this is x. So what is the length for this red dot going sideways? That is also 24 minus 2x. Because you take 2x on the left and right from 24. So when you fold this up, this will be the green one, which is 24 minus 2x. This will be the purple one, which is 24 minus 2x. And this is the box. So whatever you take it out is the height of the box. So in this case, it will be x, because the box is measured x. So the question in this case is asked for the volume. Does anyone know how to find a volume of a open box? Length times width times height. So length is this one, 24 minus 2x. Width is this one, also 24 minus 2x. And height in this case is the one that goes, the x in this case. Please don't leave your answer like this. You have to do some foiling. So go ahead, foil out this one first. So take out your calculator. Yeah, you need a calculator here. So foil 24 minus 2x times 24 minus 2x. So this will give us what? 576. If you multiply that with, and then you FOIL out, you got negative 48x minus another 48x plus 4x squared. You got 248x. When you combine this, you get 576 minus 96x plus 4x squared. And don't forget, this is just doing 24 minus 2x when you FOIL it. But you still need to multiply everything here by x. So you will get 4x cubed minus 96x squared plus 576x. So this is the answer for the volume of this case. Okay, in terms of x. And now they want you to figure out what is the domain of this. So in order for you to find the domain of this, you take the smaller pieces and solve for x. Now, since these are the same length, 24, 24, and 24, so you just take 24 minus 2x equals to 0. Now, what happens if they are not 24, 24, one is 24 and one is 16? Then you use the 16 one because 16 is a smaller one between those two. So you always take the smaller dimension. Usually it's 16 minus 2x. Usually it's minus 2x because you cut two corners off. You solve for x here. So x in this case is 12. Okay. So your domain in this case will be from 0 to 12. The reason why that is from 0 because you cannot have negative. As you know, this is paper. You cannot do negative. You cannot do 0 because that it won't exist. Again, so that's why you use parentheses here to telling me that 0 it cannot be used. But the box can be 0.1. So if you just take 0.1 times 0.1, the box is that you take it off is this box that you take it off is super tiny. Okay, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any numbers until 12. You cannot take 12 because if you take 12, because the whole thing is 24. If you take 12 on one side and 12 on the other side, you don't have any more papers left. So it can be less than 12. So that's why we use parentheses here. So it can be 11.9 or 11.8. Then your open box here is going to be really small if you take a big chunk of the square here. Okay, so your domain in this case is going to be 0 to 12 for this question 16. Questions here? This question 17 is to write the area of the circle as in the circumference. So there are formulas here. So for the area of the circles, the formula is given us by pi r squared. And the circumference formula is given us by 2 pi r. So this is a formula for areas and circumference of a circle. They want you to write this area in terms of c. So what do we do here is we need to replace r here by c. So like substitution. So what we do is we solve for r here. So I will divide both sides by 2 pi. So r in this case is circumference over by 2 pi. And what do I do is I plug this into my r. So my area in this case is pi times c over 2 pi squared. Okay, I plug the radius into this formula. So again, I have to square the whole thing here. So this will become c squared over by 4 because 2 square is 4. And pi square, pi times pi is square. So actually I square this inside the parentheses. Now this pi and this pi can be cancelled. So, but because you got 2 here, you got 1 here, you only can cancel one of those pi. So your answer in this case is c squared over by 4 pi. Now again, class, when you write this kind of answers in your online homework, make sure you understand that your A and your C here are in capitals, so uppercase. So if you put this C as a lowercase in your homework, they will mark you wrong. Okay, and same thing with this A. The A here also has to be in uppercase here. So these are the few things that when you guys do my online homework, you have to watch carefully. Okay, uppercase, lowercase. Otherwise, like the example that we give, I showed you before, the early example. If you don't put a lower S and upper S, they will mark you wrong. Okay. Question 18, we have a rectangular that is bounded by a semicircle. So this semicircle equations is given us by y equals to square root of 36 minus x squared. And it is bounded by a rectangle. This is rectangle. Okay. The picture in this is nicer, but it looks something like this. The question here wants you to find what is the area A, the area capital A of the rectangle in the function x. So they want you to find what is this area is in terms of x. And then we find the domain after that. Okay, so how do we do this? Is you looking at your so look at these points here. Okay, so let's say from here to here is x, and then from here to here is also x, and then from here to here is y, and from here to here is y. So if you look at this rectangle has a width of y and the length of 2x, because you got x on one side and the x for the other side. So the area of a rectangle here is given us by length times width. The length is 2x times the width in this case is y. But if you look at this question wants this in terms of x. You say write A in terms of x. So we do not know on y here, so we can substitute. So it's given us that y in this case is this square of 36 minus x. So we will plug it back in here. So this will be 2x times square root of 36 minus x squared. So this is the answer for the area of the x. And then graphically determine the domain of this function. Okay, so we need to figure out what is x in this case. Now, if you look carefully here, this x is depends on this number 36. Can someone tell me what is the square root of 36?
Six.
So 6. So your domain for this is actually goes from 0 to 6. So how do we know the x here is 0 to 6 is because you cannot have negative in the square root. Okay, so 0 is the smallest you can have. The 6 comes from the 36 here. So if your homework is 49, then it'll be 7. So of 8, the homework is 25 will be 5. So I want to tell you that mostly when you do your homework for this kind of questions, this number is a perfect square. So that's why like 36 and 49 and so on. So that's why your domain in this case will be 0 to that square root of that number. Okay, so it make your life a bit easier. You can find the domain, which is a little bit more work, but the quickest way in this case will be just do it, take a square of it. Okay. We'll do the last question here, number 19. So a company produced a product with a variable cost of $12.30 per unit. So this is a cost. So every time when you do this kind of questions in your I got 2 more left. If you see the word cost, so that means it belongs to the cost function. Okay, and then when they use the word sell, is your revenue function, revenue functions. Okay, yeah. So make sure you guys know that. Read the question really well. They will tell you which one is which. So the cost function in this case, C, they like to use letter C here for cost, is a variable 1230 per unit and a fixed cost of 98,000. So how do we write that in the cost is the fixed cost only one time, so it's 98,000 plus the cost per unit is 1230 per unit. So it's 1230x. Okay, so x in this case is a number of units. So so for question 19a, in order for you to find the cost, you just take the fixed cost plus the variable cost. Every time when you have variable cost, you put the x next to it. Question B is asking for the revenue. Revenue is how the selling. So you sell for this per unit. So in this case, it'll be $17.98 X, because every unit you sell, this is how much you get. Okay. Part C is asking for the profit. So in order for us to find the profit, you take the revenue minus the cost. I think we did this before in 2.1. The homework that we just did. So you take revenue, which is 17.98x, minus the cost. This is the cost, and you need a parenthesis here because there are two terms here. So it's 98000 plus 12.3x. And then because the reason why you need parentheses is because of the negative here. So it's 17.98x minus 98,000 minus 12.30x. And you just combine like terms. So these two terms are like terms. Combine them, 17.98 minus what, 12.3? So that'd be 5.68. So this is 5.68x minus 98,000. So this is the revenue, the profit, not revenue, the profit, sorry. This is the profit function in this case. Okay. This is the revenue, and this is cost. Okay, class, if you are in the business major, make sure you guys know this. This is very important because it is the profit is the one that you guys all need to talk. I mean, you guys need to know this. And it's always taking revenue minus cost. Okay. So this is how we do question 19. Again, we did this before, so I don't think so you guys have any problem. But this is the one that we need to talk about. This is the difficult one. So question 20. This is called the difference of quotient. So it's given us that f of x in this case is 4x squared minus 2x. So pay attention here. You need to find the difference of quotient for this case, which is this is the difference of quotient. Again, I provide you the formula, so you do not need to memorize it. So the first thing you need to do here is to figure out what is fx plus h. In order for you to figure out what is fx plus h, you have to replace all your x here by x plus h. So be 4 times something squared minus 2 times something. Again, your x will be replaced by x plus h. So again, what we need to do here is we had to do some foiling here. So this requires you to do some foiling. So you do what is x plus h times x plus h, because that's the meaning of x plus h squared. you have to FOIL it out. So go ahead and FOIL this fellow up. You get what? X squared plus XH plus HX plus H squared. Now don't forget XH and HX are the same. So this can be combined to become 2XH. So this is X squared plus 2XH plus H squared. But do not forget that you still need to multiply this by 4. So you need to multiply this whole thing by 4. So when you do that, and this is just for him, this you will get 4x squared plus 8xh plus 4h squared. So you have to multiply all this by 4. And then this one, you have to distribute -2 inside. So you will get -2x minus 2h. And you notice that none of this is common or like terms. So you cannot combine like terms here. So the formula says the difference of quotient is fx plus h minus f of x all over by h. Now this is him, everything here. So it's a lot of work. So 4x squared plus 8xh plus 4h squared minus 2x minus 2h. This is just him. And then we need to subtract f of x. Now don't forget, this is f of x. We need to subtract it. So when you subtract it, like what we did over here, the negative has to be distributed. So you will get a negative 4x squared. And these two negative will become positive 2x. So the brown one that I did is for the negative f of x. And then you have to make all this over by h. This is super difficult. And this is for calculus 1. So you're doing if you're going for calc 1, you will see this again. Now, when you do this, you find out that these two terms can be canceled. This 4x squared can be canceled with this 4x squared. This 2x can be canceled with this negative 2x. So this is a good thing about when you do this difference of quotient, they can cancel. So what you left is these 3 terms. And if you look at these 3 terms, they all have h's on it. So you can actually factor out the h. And when you factor out the h, you got 8x plus 4h minus 2. So you take the h out for each one of this. So you got 8x plus 4h minus 2. And this is all over by h. So the h here can be canceled. So what we left in this case is 8x plus 4h minus 2. So this is your answer for question number 20. And yes, this is super long and super difficult, but if you are going for calculus 1, this is what we call as differentiation. You will be doing all this work. And then after that, the teacher will show you a shortcut. You know, we always have a shortcut to do things to find this value without doing all this crazy work. I'm not teaching you the shortcut because you're not in my calculus class yet. Last question is this one. F of x is x 2/3 plus 1. The question here is asking us to find what is f of x minus f8 over by x minus 8. So this is the question for question number 21. So f of x is given us by this, so we just need to figure out what is f8 is. What is f8 is you replace your x to become 8. So it's 8 2/3 plus 1. Now, if you have this kind of fraction as your exponents, the one that is in your denominator is a root. And the one in your numerator is your power. So this is actually is a cube root of 8 because our 3 is in the denominator. And then you square it. Then you add 1. So this is so when you have 8 to the power of 2/3, the 2 is the power, the 3 is the root. Cube root of 8 is 2. And when you square it, this will become 4. And then when you add 1, so this is 5. So now we can plug all this in. So this will become x2 over 3. Because f of x is that plus 1 minus f8. Now f8 we found out that is 5. Okay, f8 is 5, so we minus 5 all over by x minus 8. And then we just need to combine these two. So 1 take away 5 is 4. So I'm gonna erase this to become minus 4. So that is your answer, is x to the 2/3 minus 4 divided by x minus 8. This is your answer for question 21. So this is a little bit easier to do compared to 20 because this question doesn't, the difference of questions a little bit different from the one. This is the main part of it. So I would suggest you to concentrate on question 20 here, then 21. Right, so this is the end for today's class here. So you do have some homework due on this Wednesday. Oh my God. One of them, don't forget your homework 2.1. I don't know. So your 2.1 homework is due tonight, and then your 2.2 homework is due on next Wednesday. So this homework is due on the Wednesday, the 27th. So it's, oh my goodness. So this homework is due on Wednesday, the 26th. Okay. So you got one homework due tonight, which is 2.1, and you got one homework due on the coming up Wednesday, which is the 26th. So make sure you guys do this homework. Again, I will post all this in your D2L. So make sure you guys got to refer to it. I did mostly a lot of this homework today, a lot of the notes today that I skipped a few of those. Please make sure you guys try to do it on your own. I think I skipped 3 or 4 questions here. That's it for today's class. I'm gonna stop sharing here and stop recording.